In the previous episode I sprayed the block Aston Martin Oyster Silver and got on with stripping the con rods and the pistons and polishing up the pistons ready to mount the table. This is the Aston Martin DB9 V12 engine table project, part 2. The next stage is to work out how to go about getting the glass table mounted. So I've got these con rods here, I've polished up the pistons, but really I need to work out how I'm going to attach these con rods onto the face of the block here and what height I want the glass to be at. The fixings for the cylinder head into the block are M10, so that's not what is in these the big ends on the con rod. So I'm going to have to drill out and tap these to M10. First of all, to work out with the piston fitted what height I want the table, because I'd really like to reuse either this hole or that hole, and then I'm going to have to drill out either above here or into there to get the second fixing in to match up with the con rod. I want the car to look like it's floating above the block rather than actually mounted to it directly. So I've set that on a matchbox for now just to give it a bit of clearance, and I think that's working. Now to look at where I want this piston. So do I use this top hole here or do I use the bottom one? I think this bottom hole is going to work better because there's still a good 15mm to 2cm clearance to the underside of the glass, and actually this will give a slightly wider spread to support the table as well, which I think will work. So I'll use the bottom of these holes then instead. So I drop this M10 bolt down, you can see. So it's at that point I start to get thread engagement. So I've actually bought these M10 grub screws that I want so that just that part there is showing from inside the con rod. So I'll need to extend these with another M10 bolt that I'll cut down and basically weld the two together to get the right length. I'm going to grind these down to a taper so that the 2 points join together, which gives me something on to weld onto. I have a trial fitting of one of these, so if I screw it in from underneath, okay, there we go, excellent. Right, that's looking good. The second hole here I'm going to need to drill and tap into the actual block. Go. So that's pretty securely in place, I'm pleased with that. Now to start on the other end. Now got all 4 con rods mounted here, but they're going to rust if I leave them, so I'm going to take them off again, sandblast and paint them satin black. So if I quickly drop the pistons on without the gudgeon pins, you can kind of see where it's going to look like once it's done. I'll drop them in position and then the model up there. So my next jobs are to get those con rods done, make another one of these plates for this cooling hole here, get the model mounted and get the order in for the glass. I now need to set about making another one of these blanking plates. I've had this 2mm thick steel plate for a while, so obviously having made this one I just need to go about scribing on this and making an exact copy. Okay, now for the feet that the block is going to sit on. Now of course I've resprayed these already, but I don't want these to be scratching these plates here. So I've got hold of some U-channel. If you look at this very closely, you can kind of see that there's a little slit cut in it. So I'm going to fit this plastic strip here to protect these plates at the bottom. I now need to find a way to mount the model here. What I'm going to use is the mounting holes for where the screws were, for where it was held into its original packaging. So I'm going to make a plate and use rivets and weld those on in exactly the right place. So this will just hopefully locate in exactly the right way so that it can be lifted off for cleaning and playing with, but also it'll actually hold it securely in place as well. So I've now got the makings of my mount here, so if I get the model I should be able to align it with all the pins so that it sits nice and level. Okay, so with that done, it now floats a bit. Now I need to see where it's actually going to sit on the surface of this so that I can set it off a little bit. So I've now made my mounting plate here with the pins to hold the bottom of the car. You can see I've cut the ones at the front shorter because there's less space in the holes underneath the car, and the longer ones at the back. So let's see how this goes in. There we go. So that's the model securely mounted here. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I can set about trial fitting it onto the block. So I'm quite pleased with that. It sits nicely off the block. Looks like it's floating. If I spray the brackets black, then the question is, if I open things like the bonnet and the boot, will there be clearance to the glass? No, there won't. So maybe I can take it down a little bit and reduce this clearance here. I can get the model lower actually, can't I? 3mm at the back, 2 at the front. I think look better for it, so let's try that. It's taken a bit of fettling, but I've got this to the right height now so that it's still floating, but not too high off the surface of the block, also sufficiently low so that you can get the table on top and still open the boot and the bonnet. I can now take this off and go and get this bit sprayed up in satin black so that you can't really see it when it's fitted. I've had the glass arrive today, so I now need to get the glass mounted, check that it's all level on here. Until now the pistons have just been resting on the conrods here. So I need to take all of this apart, build it up properly with the gudgeon pins in, and set it up so that it's ready to place the glass on for the first time. My method for making sure that the glass doesn't slip off if it's knocked is with these silicone pads. Now they've actually got a protective film on each side at the moment, but I'm going to make those circular to match the diameter of this raised part of the piston and put one on each. But if I just rest one on each for now, I can offer up the glass for the first time. That's a big chunky 10mm thick piece of glass which weighs quite a lot, so I'm fairly confident that it's going to rest on there and hold it nicely, but obviously I haven't tried this yet, so here goes for the first time. 70 by 100 centimetres, so I'm going to offer it up. No, God, it weighs a lot. There we go. So I can do a few measurements to make sure that it's resting on there as nicely as possible, as equally as possible. But that's the first time it's gone on. I've levelled it out and I've marked where each of the pistons are so that I can get it aligned tomorrow, and that will easily wash off with some glass cleaner. So that's looking pretty good. Now to get the model mounted in the centre here. Just arrived at the head office of my friend Andy's company, Tobar Express, up in Egton in North Yorkshire, and just installed the engine table, so come have a look. It happens to really match the colours that they've chosen in here, which is great, but it's nice to see it in position, and if you look at the number plate on the car, it actually shows something that's relevant to Tobar Express as a company. But I'd like to thank Andy for, in effect, commissioning me to do this, and it's great. It looks great in his office.